So one of the most frequently asked questions that we get here at Doggy Zone is, when is the right time to start training your dog? Now, the answer might surprise you, and we're gonna break it down for you as to when you should start training your dog. See, what I've learned over the years is that a lot of people think that you should start training your dog when they reach a certain age. The reality is that training starts the moment that you actually interact with your dog. Every time that you interact with your dog is learning, your dog is being trained. It's just up to you whether it's by design or by default. We like to do things by design because that helps us to prevent problems rather than trying to fix them down the road. So let's talk through some of the different phases and when it is and what it is that we should be doing during those phases. Between 7 and 16 weeks of age is the primary socialization period for dogs. During that time period, all of the training that we're doing with them is going to be socialization based. We are going to be teaching them about different environments, sounds, objects, sights, etc. We're not too focused on having really reliable obedience when we have a super young puppy, but we should be teaching them all of the things that we want them to be able to do for later on in life. So I'm not gonna wait until my dog is 6 or 7 months old to start teaching them to sit and stay and lay down and walk with me. I'm gonna start teaching that the moment that I start interacting with my dog between 7 and 16 weeks. And by doing that, I teach them everything that they need to know in life before I truly expect them to do it. And once we've done everything during that time period in a way that's very motivational and fun, we've created some work ethic with our puppy that ultimately is something that we can use to fuel us as we go forwards into the other phases of the dog's life. So with a young puppy, remember, we're gonna keep it light, we're gonna keep it fun, we're gonna keep the sessions super short. Doing those 3 things will ensure that your puppy is enjoying those training sessions. So the difference between training a puppy and training an older dog is when a puppy is really young, we don't have a lot to go back and fix. They're like a sponge, so we can really just lay a ton of foundation without having to go back and correct and fix things that dog, like little idiosyncrasies that dog might have. With an older dog, we have a lot more to go back and fix. The big difference is that attention span that the older dog has. With an older dog, we're gonna be able to train them for longer periods of time. They're gonna have a little bit more stamina than a young puppy. So you may find that the older dog takes longer to imprint what it is that we're looking to teach them because we had to first start off by stopping them from doing the wrong thing before we could start doing the right thing. And with the puppies, we just teach them the right thing from the very beginning. The biggest mistake that people make when they're training with puppies is they spend too much time working on things with the dog. They're trying to take 10 minutes to teach the dog, and the reality is that puppies have an attention span of about 5 to 10 seconds. So the best way to combat that is really to just interact with your dog and incorporate the training into your interaction. You can be sitting, petting your dog, playing with him, whatever the case may be. You can pull a treat out every so often and you can work on sit, or you can work on down, and you can do 1 or 2 repetitions and then move on and go back to what it is that you're doing. And by doing these really short sessions where they're very concentrated, the puppies learn at a very quick pace, and this prevents us from overloading the dog and them getting to a point where they're frustrated because they're not actually sure what they're being trained to do. After we get through the puppy phase, we have a dog that's 16 weeks of age or older. They've really moved into what I would call an adolescence phase. The adolescence phase is really where they start to test us a lot more, their energy is up, they start to have more behavioral related issues. And a lot of the times, this is when people actually decide that they need to start training their dog, because the issues that they're having now are bigger. The dog has gotten bigger, the dog has gotten older, has gotten more intense, and the result of that is I can't stand the issues as well as I could when he was a really cute young puppy. sometimes people continue with this for many, many months and sometimes even years afterwards. And the result of that is that we have a dog that's just getting more and more ingrained in these behaviors. But at any point in time that you decide that you want to change your dog's behavior and you want to teach your dog the right way to do something, we can do that. We just have a little bit more to go back and fix. But there's no reason why a dog that's even 9, 10, 11 years old cannot learn. In fact, sometimes the older dogs will learn things quite quickly because they're mature. They've learned how to learn in many cases. And so that adolescence period that starts usually right around kind of 16 weeks, depending on the breed of dog, you'll find that your higher caliber dogs, you'll need to kind of move them into the adolescence phase of training a little bit sooner. So your Dobermans, Rottweilers, German Shepherds, Malinois, Pit Bulls, all of these dogs, and even Labradors and Golden Retrievers, sometimes we start kind of their adolescence phase of training closer to 14 weeks because they can become quite a handful. But this adolescence phase is really where it is that we're teaching the dogs that what it is that they learned when they were puppies, they now have to do. It's not optional anymore. It is a requirement. It's for their safety and for the benefit of a greater freedom that they're going to have later on down in life. At the point that we have a dog in this adolescence phase, they should really be very reliable in their obedience. They have an attention span and we can expect them to focus on what it is that we want to teach them. And from there, we go into kind of this adulthood phase. And even at the adulthood phase, our sessions are longer, but we can still, no matter the age of the dog, we can start teaching them there. So in terms of what we want to prioritize when we are training our dogs, the first thing that needs to be prioritized is teaching the dog to pay attention to us. Most dogs don't have a high level of attention on their handler or their owner, and attention is the number one thing that allows your dog to be obedient and to be responsive to you regardless of what's going on around them. So we teach their name means to look at us, and a lot of people say my dog knows their name, but I would tell you that 99% of the time the definition that your dog has of their name is probably not the definition that we need them to have in order to be extremely focused on us when we're walking past 10 dogs barking at the fence at the dog park and we want our dog focused on us. So I would say that attention on us as the owner or handler is the number one thing that needs to happen before we move on to anything else. And we will continuously work on improving that dog's attention in higher and higher distracting situations. And that's what's really going to give us the reliability that we want, which ideally is a dog that can respond to us regardless of what's going on, even when they're off the leash. The one key takeaway that you need to keep in mind when it comes to training is do not wait. Utilize every moment that you interact with your dog as a training opportunity. And when you do that, you will always be helping your dog to learn in a way that is by design versus by default.